Hello, everyone, and Merry Christmas if you celebrate. It is December 24th, and unfortunately, we are going to be talking about a case day that has happened on December 24th, 22 years ago in 2002. No, I'm not a brain whiz that's great at math. It's just because I was born in 2002, so I know it was 22 years ago. But on December 24th, 2002, 8-month pregnant Laci Peterson was reported missing. She was 26 at the time, by her husband, Scott, and her stepfather in Modesto, California. Now, I always say this during the holidays to my friends and family that you can't just think about happy holidays and all that stuff, because to everyone the holidays are not happy. This is a perfect instance. I'm sure Laci's family, even though this happened 22 years ago, this is still a very hard day for them and a very hard just holiday season in general. So I want to encourage you all to have open hearts and try to think about others this holiday season who don't have their loved ones and are going through a bit of a hard time. So I just want to put that out there. As always, be kind to everyone. You never know anyone's story. So after she was reporting missing, it started a massive search for Laci and her unborn son, Connor. And where was Scott, you might ask? Where was he on Christmas Eve, and why was he not home with his pregnant wife? He was not at work. He was at the Berkeley Marina fishing, and he had said that he had seen Laci that morning. He came back home after fishing, and the dog was in the backyard with his leash still on, and Laci was gone. Now, he figured that Laci was just at her mom's house, so he ate some pizza, he washed some laundry, and he relaxed. Then, a little bit later, he called Laci's mom to find out she was not there, and they both panicked, and Scott called 911. And Laci's stepfather also called 911. I cannot find Scott's 911 call. I don't know if it doesn't exist in public record, but I could not find it. I feel like I've heard it before, but I'm sorry, I couldn't find it today. But I did find Laci's stepfather's 911 call, and I will play it for you now.
How can I help you?
Yes, my son-in-law called. He went playing golf this morning at 9:30. My daughter's been missing since this morning. She's 8 months pregnant. She took her dog for a walk in the park. The dog came home with just a leash on.
So the dog came back without your daughter?
Right.
Note, the stepfather said that Scott was golfing, not fishing, which is the first weird fact in this case. I know it seems small now, but the fact that he thought he was golfing when he was actually fishing is just a little bit weird. It's a little bit fishy. And before we get into the rest of the crazy web of details that makes up this case, let's talk about who Laci was. Speaking of how crazy this case is, I actually envy those of you who have never heard this case, because it is crazy and it's so fascinating. And I heard it for the first time in high school, and it piqued my interest, and I've really become fascinated in true crime and criminal justice and all of that since then. But anyway, it's a little bit of a tangent. Laci Peterson was born on May 4th, 1975, just 10 days before me, and that makes her a Taurus, just like me, and she was born in Modesto, California. Her parents were Sharon Rocha and Dennis Rocha. I don't know why I said Sharon like that. Sharon. Her siblings were Brent and Amy Rocha, and her stepfather was Ron Gratonsky. She was raised on a farm, and her father was a tractor rental business associate, and he divorced her mom, Sharon, when Laci was young, and her stepfather came into the picture a little bit after that. and he was a dairy farmer. As a young girl, Laci was always smiley and bubbly, and she was the center of attention. She was very talkative and popular. She studied horticulture when she moved on to college at the Polytechnic Institute in San Luis Obispo. I don't know how to say that. And if you're like me, you're thinking, what the heck is horticulture? Fun fact, it is the science of art and growing plants for food and medicine. She had a very close group of friends, and she was very close with her family. Family was very important to Laci. And Scott Peterson, let's talk about him for a little bit. Scott Lee Peterson was born October 24th, 1972 in San Diego, California. He was an only child to Lee and Jackie Peterson. He was an avid golfer and model student. He went to a few different colleges. I don't know why he went to so many colleges, like he transferred in and out, but he ended up going to the same college that Laci did at some point, the Polytechnic State University, and he majored in agricultural business. During this time, the two of them met during college. Scott was actually a waiter at a cafe that she attended, and Laci asked a friend to give him her number, and they became talking and dating, and then they got married soon after graduation. They ran a small business together, but then they ended up selling it so they can buy a small affordable home in Modesto, California, Laci's hometown, and they were expecting their first child, Connor. Back to Christmas Eve, she was reported missing, and Scott was interviewed by Modesto PD. I'm going to play you a clip from his interview. They were just, of course, the husband's going to get interviewed, the wife's missing. So I'm going to play the interview from...
I don't know what time we got up. Probably Laci got up and went and assumed she had some cereal for breakfast. She eats right when she wakes up, otherwise she gets sick because she's pregnant. I laid around in bed longer. I got up at, I don't know, 8 o'clock probably or so. Showered. And we were watching her favorite show, Martha Stewart. Watched a little bit of that. Oh, that was a morning decision. It's either go play golf at the club or go fishing.
Okay.
Seemed too cold to go play golf at the club, so yeah, just decided to, 9:30 or whatever than that. Mm-hmm. Just told her what she was going to do for the day, and
okay, so she told you what she was going to do for the day.
yeah.
And what was that?
She's going to finish cleaning up. Like I said, she's mopping the kitchen floor. Take the dog for a walk, and then she's going to the store to buy for Christmas morning breakfast tomorrow. And that was going to be involved prep. So that was her, just prepping the breakfast, and she's going to make gingerbread cookies for tonight.
As you can see, Scott was as chill as can be, calm as he could be when it's Christmas Eve and his literal wife and unborn child are missing. But he's just all chillaxed, like kicking back, drinking a soda, like smoking a cigarette, like doesn't have a care in the world. He's just chatting about Martha Stewart. Like, come on. Like, I know everyone reacts differently, but come on, Scott, come on. So as I mentioned earlier, when Scott came home, the dog was in his yard with a leash on. The neighbor actually brought the dog to their backyard because he was just wandering around the neighborhood. So what always strikes me about this case is the dog. Like, the dog is the only one who truly knows what happens besides Laci and Scott if he did do it. I wish animals could talk. But anyway, did Scott do this to make it look like she was kidnapped? Did he let the dog out on purpose, which is fucked up if he did because the dog could have got hurt, to make it look like a kidnapping? Or if it was Scott, why was the dog walking around without the leash, unless he did it intentionally? If he didn't do it, was she taken? Was she kidnapped? What happened? So that is crazy. That's always the craziest detail for me. Anyway, at first, no one thought it was Scott. Modesto PD, Laci's family, no one thought it was Scott. They kind of took mental notes, like his behavior's odd, but not criminal. That doesn't prove anything, that he's a weirdo. Anyway, days go on, and there's no sign of Laci at all. Search efforts continue, vigils and police investigations, and still nothing. It wasn't public until January 24th, 2003, but on December 30th, a woman named Amber Fry called police and told them that she had been dating Scott. She thought that he was single, and she was told that his wife had died, and it was his first Christmas without her. This happened before Laci was missing. This was months prior. They were dating for a few months at this point. So he had told her that when Laci was still very much alive and very much not missing. He had told her that she was dead, and it was his first Christmas without her. So pretty fucked up, pretty weird. And once this affair becomes public, this is when Laci's family and Modesto PD and the media turn on Scott. Is it a possible motive? If he can cheat and he lied about this whole affair, could have he lied about other things? Could he have lied about where Laci is, if Laci was actually missing, and if he murdered her? So this kind of flipped the case over on its side. I don't personally hate Amber. I don't think we should hate Amber. She didn't know. She literally was watching the news and then called police and was like, that's my boyfriend on the news. Like, she didn't know he was married. She sure as shit didn't know that he had a wife that was missing and an unborn child. She didn't know any of that. So she was shocked when she saw the news because this was highly publicized all over. So also you can't hate her because she helped out this case immensely. She was 27 at the time, and she was a massage therapist, and she worked with police to spy on Scott. They had her call him, and they would record their phone calls to try to get something out of Scott, any kind of information. I don't think, like, they thought that they'd get a confession, but they wanted to get some information on what the hell he was saying to this lady. So she would call him and pretend she didn't know about Laci and just talk normally while the police were just listening on in the other side. The most famous recorded phone call took place during a candlelit vigil they had for Laci. So pretty fucked up if he did do it or if he didn't do it, to be calling your side piece at this time. He did not tell her that he was at a candlelit vigil for his missing wife and unborn child. He told her that he was in France, ringing in the new year in Paris, and he was right in front of the Eiffel Tower. That's what he told her. She knew sure as shit he was not there. She knew he was at a vigil, but she was just like, oh, awesome, like, that's awesome, like, crazy, oh my god. But this all became public by January 24th. The public all knew this, and everyone hated Scott, especially after this. On March 5th, 2003, Laci's case was changed to a homicide. She was not missing anymore in the eyes of the law. She was thought to be murdered. I'm not sure exactly why, but it was that day officially changed to a homicide. I'm not sure if it's because of possible evidence they had against Scott or his strange behavior or what, but they knew that they were not chasing Laci anymore. They were essentially searching for her remains, as sad as it is. And sadly, on April 13th and 14th, the remains of Laci and Connor were found and identified in San Francisco Bay. Disgustingly enough, the most disturbing evidence from this case is that because of the change in the tides or just being in the ocean, or I'm not sure why, Connor's body was actually pulled out from Laci's body. They were separated, so their remains were actually found a mile apart from each other, which is so just disgusting and horrifying and just terrible, because I know Laci would be horrified if she knew that her baby was just floating. And it's so sad. Like, that's just the worst detail about this case. And I can't imagine for the people that found that, not only Laci, of course, that's terrible to find Laci, but the fetus just washed up like it was trash. Like, it is just disgusting. Like, whoever did this, like, human beings are just absolutely disgusting to treat other human beings like trash like that. It is so terrible. This was a beautiful unborn baby that was about to start his entire life, and here he was just washed up ashore. That detail is just always gets me. And there was also a parking ticket, proving that Scott was there at the marina, at the Berkeley Marina, fishing on December 24th, 2002, just a few miles from where their remains were found. A few days later, on April 18th, 2003, Scott was arrested for their murder in La Jolla, California. He had bleached his hair and had $15,000 in his car and tried to flee to Mexico. He did not get to Mexico. They caught his ass, and of course he pleaded not guilty because he is a narcissist if he did do it. And just a little factoid about that, because, like, people kind of overlook Connor. Of course, it was Laci's life, but it was also Connor's life, and not many people know this, but they actually got a law called Laci's Law, and they got that her family, like, they made that a law saying that if you murder a pregnant woman, I'm not too sure on the specifics of it, it's just the general, I just want to throw it out there. If you murder a pregnant woman, you can get charged for 2 murders, because it's the murder of the woman and the unborn child. And I think that that's beautiful, because a lot of times people just want to try to separate the fetus from the mother and say that the fetus is nothing, but the fetus is not nothing. The fetus is a baby, and he would have been a beautiful baby boy, I'm sure. So it is just heartbreaking. But I just wanted to add that, because I'm really glad that Laci's family fought for that law, and I think that's really beautiful that they had that in her honor. Terrible circumstances, but anyway, on June 1st, 2004, the trial began. Evidence. Crazy enough, there is not that much evidence. As I mentioned earlier, the house, there is no evidence in the house. There's no blood stains. There's essentially no crime scene. There was a little bit of bleach there or something, like in the corner or whatever, like I'm pretty sure in a container, and some washed clothes, but that's all. There was nothing unusual in the house. I don't know if they didn't do a thorough search back then, but there was nothing in the house that was evidence of a crime scene, and people don't really think that if she was murdered, it was in the house because of that. The main stuff that hinted at his guilt was the fishing spot and the location, because it was so close to where the remains were found. So I'm going to pop up a few pictures on the screen. He did have a stamped ticket for the Berkeley Marina, and just to show you, it is 1 hour and 20 minutes away from their home in Modesto, California. So that's kind of a very long drive to take on Christmas Eve and leave your pregnant wife at home. Very strange. An hour and a half is just, it's very strange. Like, that's far away. It's not like the remains were found 5 minutes away from their house and they'll be like, oh, that's so close to Scott. Scott did it. No, the remains were found an hour and a half away from their house, and Scott was also an hour and a half away from their house. So that's why it's just so sketchy. It's just very weird. And I'll pop up another picture on the screen. The remains were just 12 miles from the Berkeley Marina where Scott was fishing that day. Sketchy. Also, the boat was evidence in itself. It was a secret boat no one knew existed. Nobody knew that Scott bought this boat on December 9th. Scott's family didn't know. They believed that Laci did not know. He bought this boat and hid it away like a secret. I don't know. You'd think that you'd want to tell people about it, like you're excited that you got a boat, but no, he wanted to hide it like a dog hiding a bone. I don't know. Weird. There's also homemade anchors found at his workplace that were made for the boat. The prosecution thinks to sink her body. And also, he never had a fishing license since 1990. I don't know what I wrote down. 1990 something. But secured one just 2 days before she disappeared. So he was not sitting there pondering, should I go golfing? Should I go fishing? He knew he was fucking going fishing. He got that boat. He got that fishing license. He knew he was going fishing. Maybe if he was innocent, he wanted to like pretend he wasn't fishing at the time, like so he wouldn't seem guilty, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's guilty. He knew he was going fucking fishing. I'll just tell you that. There was also one of Laci's hair found in a pair of pliers at his workplace. Is it possible it's a coincidence? It just, she is his wife. Like, he just had it on a hair of hers on his clothes and it fell onto a plier, but a plier, that's kind of a sketchy location for that to happen. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. I don't think so, because like a plier is a little bit weird for that to fall, like just fall perfectly onto the plier. Like, I don't know. But overall, there wasn't that much evidence. And if he did kill her, how did he do it and leave no trace evidence? There's no blood found anywhere. And just that single hair on the plier. The craziest thing, though, that makes me doubt in my mind if he really did do it or not, and if he is innocent, because how in the fuck was he able to transport her body into his car in the middle of the day with all those neighbors around, and then drive an hour and a half away, put her body into the boat in a public marina with all those people around, and then from the boat, which there could be other people on boats, into the water with people around, and nobody see it, not a single witness. Like, that's what kind of makes me think, like he'd be fucking stupid to try and do that, because that's so risky, but I don't think he would have got away with it, because it is so risky. Like, it was broad daylight. You don't just move a body, like, what? Like, people would be like, what the hell? I mean, unless he had it wrapped up. But still, people would be like, that's sketchy, and witnesses would say, oh yeah, I saw him, he was carrying this giant thing. Like, I don't know. That's just for me, like, how did he manage to move the body in daylight? If he did do it, how did he manage to do it? And not have a single witness? Also, Scott's defense team showed how it would be impossible for him to throw her body out of his boat, because his boat was a very small fishing boat. They reenacted it to show that the boat would sink if he tried to do it, and they played this video in court. I'm gonna show you the clip right now.
Release your weight.
Also, later on in the video, it showed that it had to be a 2-person job. to lift the body into the boat in the first place. So the whole mechanics of the crime that they're saying Scott did this doesn't make sense. So that's why part of me thinks he's innocent, because how did he pull it off? If he did it, how the hell did he pull it off and have not a single witness? Also, Amber's testimony was a big part of the trial. This video is getting very long, so I'm not gonna mention too much of that, but she essentially described in details of the cheating and the claims that were made that his wife was dead, and all of that, and the whole thing with the police recording their phone calls and all that stuff. So that was all played in court. You can look it up if you want. And then late November, December in 2004, Scott was found guilty. What does that mean? He was found guilty and sentenced to death. There are a couple other theories. A lesser popular one is that it was a cult killing of pregnant women, because there were other missing pregnant women in the area, and they thought that maybe cults did it. But the more popular one is that it was a robbery gone wrong. There was a robbery on Laci's block that day. And a lot of people think that if Laci would have saw that while walking the dog, she would have tried to intervene and stop them. And it's possible that the robbers saw her witness it and just snatched her up and wanted to get rid of her because she was a witness. The police did interview them and didn't see that as there was no motive, they said, or something. Like, they didn't think that they did it. They interviewed them, but then immediately, moved on. They did not think that they did anything. They wanted money. That's all they wanted. There was, a burned mattress or something in a van, and that would explain the wandering dog on the leash. If she was taken and while she was walking the dog and the dog was just wandering around on the leash, that would explain that. Also, Scott believes he's innocent, but Scott's family believes that he's innocent, and so does LA's Innocence Project. They took Scott's case earlier this year, and claims that evidence was overlooked, like the burned mattress, the van, the robbery was overlooked overall. What's with all these robberies on Christmas Eve? Wasn't Home Alone? What? Why? There's a lot of crime Christmas, not only murder. Christmas is just the good with the bad, Anyway, they think they overlooked a lot of evidence. But yeah, because there's also witnesses who said that they saw Laci walking the dog after Scott already left to go fishing. So how is he taking her body and dumping it to go fishing if there's witnesses that saw her walking after he already left? So there's a lot that doesn't make sense. Like I said, of course you want to blame him. He's an asshole. He cheated on her, all this stuff. But when you look at the evidence, there's not much. How did the mechanics of the crime play out? How did he move her body in daylight? Why did witnesses see her walking after he left? Why was the dog walking around on the leash? Why was there a robbery across the street that no one really paid attention to? It just doesn't. This case is one giant mystery that doesn't make sense, and I don't know if we'll ever know. It's crazy. But you'd think that if it was those robbers, they would want the attention, maybe, because a lot of people, like we just talked about last time, what's his name, Zodiac killer, he wanted the attention. So sometimes criminals want to be hey, I did that, I don't know, that's fucked up. Anyway, what do you guys think? Did Scott do it? Is he innocent? I left out a lot because the story's so crazy. Like I said, I don't know if I said this already. Watch the documentaries on Netflix. This case is crazy. It's so interesting. I could have spent all day talking about it. But It's already been 30 minutes. Amber Fry was a big part of the conviction. But did they mix up a guy guilty of cheating with a guy guilty of murder? I don't know. Is it one big horrible coincidence? Or did he do it? I mean, why else would he have acted so calm if he didn't do it? Like, if he didn't already know she was dead? But how do you think he killed her if he did? Like, and what's up with the dog? Like, please let me know what you guys think. I would love to talk to you guys in the comments about your possible theories and what you thought happened. I'm honestly very torn. Part of me is like, he's so guilty, like, cheating bastard. But part of me is like, there's a lot that doesn't make sense. So I don't know. I mostly think he did it, but I do not know. And we may never know. So yeah, like, I wonder what's gonna happen with the whole Project Innocence thing, like, if he's gonna get out or not. But anyway, I hope you guys had a happy, oh my god, it's not Easter. I hope you guys had a happy holiday and a safe Christmas, and hug the ones you love, and yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting for you, and I hope that you'll come and join me next time for my next video for a crime that took place in January. This is the last video of the year. I hope you guys have a happy new year as well. And yeah, thank you for watching again. Bye, guys.